So we have Ryan here from Rebel Offroad. He's gonna show us the Ironman Jeep.
Yep.
Go on, Ryan.
Perfect.
What have you done with this?
Okay, so this is Taylor's. He's our sales manager, and what's great about this Jeep is it gives everybody a little idea of what we can do. So probably the most amazing feature of it is that it runs on 40s. Now, a 40-inch tire, to put you into perspective, I'm about a little over 2 meters tall, about half my size, so these things are huge. Running on 17-inch wheels, and then come forward and take a look at the axle assembly.
So those are bedded wheels, right?
What?
Bedded wheels?
Beadlock.
Beadlock,
So what that does is instead of the tire just being mounted on a regular rim, it allows the tire to be pinched on the rim so that when you air down to go over rocks or any hard obstacles, it'll allow it to crawl over and grip, kind of like grabbing the rock as opposed to sliding over it. So with these big tires, obviously moving a lot of weight, crawl down and take a look at the big TerraFlex Dana 60 axle. Now this one's set up with a heavy duty tie rod so that, you know, if you bang it against the rocks or anything, nothing's gonna bend, nothing's gonna break. Has the Fox ATS, which is an all-through shaft steering stabilizer. So if you're going down the road at a high speed, it'll take all those little bumps and compensate for it. And then it also has 538 gear ratio.
We got to get out of the way for
the big tires without any nonsense. So Taylor's also has upgraded front bumper with a Warren Xeon 8S winch, which runs an actual synthetic line. So instead of running your standard wire that, say you have it tied up against a tree or any moved logs or anything and it snaps, the cord won't snap back, it'll actually fall. So it's safer for you and whoever happens to be in the area.
So again, this winch is fitted inside the bumper, right?
Everything's modular and can be controlled with your phone outside of the vehicle or inside on a switch.
Yep.
So it's nice. And then
so does that work on Bluetooth or how does it work?
So most of them now have the Bluetooth capability, or they have, I think this one has a plug in the back that you can plug the cord into, and then, you know, it's about 3-4 meters long, so you can stay out of the way of it. And then Taylor runs all Rigid Industries lights, so these things lit up.
Yeah, you like your LEDs, don't you?
Yeah, but you know what? They work great, no problems, and they give so much light and take no power. So that's what's pretty amazing about them. And then cruising up here, so this Jeep has a TerraFlex long arm kit, run at about 4.5 inches of lift.
So let's get the long arm.
Yep, so this is TerraFlex new Alpine series, which ride a little bit better on the street as opposed to the full Flex Monster versions that they have. Then we have our coilover kit, running a 14-inch King 2.5 shot.
Okay, so this is made by Rebel.
Yeah, so the hoop itself and this hydraulic bump stop mount is made by us. Great on-road driving.
Let's get the bump stop mount. Okay, there it is. All right.
That's perfect. So that's the front setup. And then something else cool that Taylor has is our rock sliders made by Rock Slide Engineering. So what this allows you to do is, say you're crawling up over some dirt or rocks or anything, instead of hitting and damaging the body, this will actually slide right over everything, allowing you to maneuver through. And what's really cool about this particular brand is when you open the doors, power steps to get in.
That's pretty cool.
It's a little higher with the bigger 40s and lift kit. And that can be turned off if you're on the trail, so that in case you have to open your door to make sure something's in the way, you can turn it off.
Okay, so coming back over here, sorry, I just wanted to ask you about this. So we talked about this at the expo.
Yeah, so this is Curry's anti-rock sway bar. Now what Jeeps typically come with is your standard fixed sway bar that has only, you know, one setting. You have, you know, your stock that gives you enough articulation to get through a lot, but also binds you quite a bit. The anti-rock kit was designed so that you get a numerous amount of flex when you're moving over things, but say you're on the road, it's not so loose that you're not sliding and rolling all over the place. So it's a perfect mix between on and off road.
Right. So you don't have to turn anything on or off, and you put this on and you're good to go.
Ready to go. So you run a front kit as well as a rear kit. So coming to the back.
So does that need to be? I think I saw a video on YouTube. I think that's somewhere you have to remove the bumper and mount it in the front.
So it gets mounted up under the front frame rails, and then you just slide the bar through.
Okay.
So coming out back, we have our Weldon hydraulic bump stop mounts. similar to the ones that were up front.
So you weld it from here?
Mm-hmm. So you actually, we call it a C-notch, but you cut half the frame away and then put this metal sleeve in and weld it around.
Right.
So that allows you to run this 2.0 bump stop.
Right.
And then we also have another rear Curry anti-rock sway bar setup.
Okay.
As well as our rear coilover kit that actually tucks.
So you guys prefer putting coilovers on majority of your vehicles if you're putting bigger tires?
Yes, just for the handling purposes, because the stock suspension is designed to work with stock size tires, you know, the standard suspension, the standard axles. So when you start bumping up and you start moving you're using your Jeep more and more, the coilovers are the best option to go.
Right, okay. And so quickly, you've got a Terraflex. Is this a, what one is this?
So the front is a Dana 60 axle. This is also a Dana 60 axle.
Okay.
Now the difference between the front and the rear is where the carrier's located. So your rear drive shaft comes straight off the transfer case, so you want it center mounted in the axle. If you look up front, the transfer case drops the forward axle shaft to the front and on the driver's side, which in India would be the passenger side. Do you guys drive on the...
Yeah, we drive on the other side.
Okay, yeah, so it would actually drop you on the passenger side, or your driver's side would be our passenger side.
Right.
Down, and it moves the carrier to that side of the axle, so that way your axle shaft stays straight and it's not bent at an angle.
And if you buy the Terraflex differential axle, the whole setup, does it come with bigger brakes?
Yes, and that's one of the benefits too. So it comes with bigger brakes and bumps you up from a 6-lug configuration to an 8, allowing you to run a heavier duty rim and tire setup.
Okay. So you don't have to spend more money on...
Yep. So it will come with the new calipers, new brakes, new rotors, everything.
It comes with the hub as well. So this is different, right? You told me about this.
Yep. So if you want, this is the 8-lug configuration. Then looking over this way is a standard 5-lug that comes with most regular Jeeps.
Right. So what is the benefit of the 8-lug thing?
So the 8-lug, you have 8 points of contact holding the rim onto the axle, as opposed to 5.
Right.
So it allows you to run, you know, this big, heavy 40-inch setup, or even a 37-inch tire, and all the way up to 54s if you really want to go big.
Right.
So it gives you more options and more security driving down the road or using it hard on the trail.
Right, okay. Oh, and I really like this thing, what you put over here. So
yeah, this is our Rebel exclusive blackout kit. Now what this does is you remove the original window, and this aluminum basically pan gets installed that you can mount a Rotopacks in out of the way. You can do a storage, you can run a gasoline, kerosene, diesel, anything you want. And then we run the Rigid Industries SRQ diffused backup lights and use them as side lights. So say you're out on the trail at night, you want to see what's to the left of you, you have those set up, or if you have your Jeep parked, you can use them when you're camping, or even say you have your Jeep in your driveway and you're working on a project, flip them on, ready to go.
And you've got a tire carrier fitted as well?
Yes, so this is the GenRight heavy duty aluminum swing out tire carrier. It's very simple to use. You just pull the 2 quick release pins. The entire tire assembly swings out, allowing you to get at everything in the back of your Jeep.
Right, okay.
So obviously if I wasn't right up against here, it'd be a little easier to pull it all the way out and show you.
So basically you need a tire carrier, because if you put the bigger tire and rim on the stock setup, then it would rip it off.
Yeah, the whole thing. So this one is ideal if you're running a 37-inch tire or up. This is what we always recommend. This one, which actually incorporates into the Jeep body, works well. You also replace your rear bumper. Poison Spider makes a rear bumper with a hinge-mounted tire carrier added with it.
So the tire carrier is mounted on the bumper?
Mounted on the body.
On the body, okay.
But there are other ones that are mounted on the bumper themselves.
Right.
So those are the two. If you have a bigger tire, we always recommend to bump it up.
So I was talking to Ryan about this, that I mean, people's biggest worry is, you know, if they put bigger tires, they'll lose power. And what Ryan basically told me is that
if you take your gear axle ratio and it's you replace the ring and pinion gear set, it'll allow you to run a lower gear, giving you more power moving a bigger tire. So a stock Jeep is geared to a 3-to-1 ratio. Taylor's, for example, with the 40-inch tires is moved all the way down to a 538. So we'll go for a ride and you'll get to see how much power this thing still has, even though it's moving big 40-inch tires.
Right, okay, so before we go for a ride, let's just talk quickly about the hood, the bonnet that you've put in.
Yes, this one is a Total Innovations hood. They make it in both an aluminum and fiberglass version, depending on weight. And then how it's set up is we do these aftermarket hinge assemblies. Many companies make them. These ones happen to be Rugged Ridge. Off the hood. Everything's set, and the mesh is installed to allow heat ventilation to come out of the Jeep as opposed to being trapped under here. Allows cooler air to move through the motor, giving you a little more power.
One more thing. So could you just quickly explain why should one go for the fiberglass as compared to the aluminum?
It really comes down to personal preference. Obviously, fiberglass is light. Most of the hoods, there are a couple that are made out of aluminum, but most are steel. So if you're worried about weight, especially if you're running the bigger tires or anything, any weight you can shave, it'll help your Jeep with both mileage and power.
So steel is strong, but it's heavy. Aluminum is light. Another benefit of aluminum is it does not rust.
Yes.
And then fiberglass is probably not that strong, but it's the lightest out of the lot.
Yes. So if you're taking your Jeep out and you're not worried about hitting any rocks or big heavy branches or anything, then obviously fiberglass would be the way to go.
Right.
However, if you're going through some deep woods or any forest or swamps that you'd be worried about things smashing the side of your hood or even your fenders, then steel would be the best way to go.
And what fenders are these?
So this is made by Nemesis Industries. These are called their Odyssey front flares.
Right.
And in the rear are their Notorious rear flares. So Taylor had his...
So both of them are the same company though. Let's
Yes.
take a look from the front. Oh, those look good.
Yes. So they're made all out of aluminum. And then Taylor's has their upgrade that reinforces the inside of the fender and allows it to where instead of something hitting it and damaging it, it'll actually reinforce the sides of the fenders to keep them from becoming damaged.
Alright, so I think we've walked around the Jeep. So we're inside the Ironman Jeep, and what we can see is there's a phone holder.
Yep.
And then we've got an added roll cage over here.
Yep, so this is made by Rock Hard 4x4, and what it allows you to do is tie into the existing roll cage of the Jeep without having the entire roll cage removed and an aftermarket one installed.
Right.
So it's got these two center support beams, one back here, one up here, cross member up top, and then including these A-pillar mounts with a center mount on the windshield.
Right.
So it gives us full brace to protect the occupants in case you roll over.
And these are some added switches.
Yep, so this entire system is made by S-Pod, and all of these switches can be custom made, custom lights. So for example, that's his windshield light bar turns on, lower bumper light bar, his lights on those blackout kits we talked about earlier, either the left side or the right side, as well as a dust light in the back. Now out by us, we'll go out to the desert and say you're following a group of Jeeps, well, a bunch of dust will get picked up. So in that case, it allows somebody to see your Jeep from behind without running into issues, as well as a backup light to help them in case, they're in a dark spot.
And this is an aftermarket
head unit.
Yeah.
Yep. So this one, I believe, is an Pioneer system, which ties into both your Bluetooth as well as any of your steering wheel controls. And Alpine's actually just come out with a stereo system that incorporates all of your switches and lights. So if you didn't want to run the switches up here, you can actually run them directly off of your stereo.
Right. Does this have a GPS as well?
This particular model does not.
Right.
I don't think he has. Well, actually, he might. Let's see. He does. So this one has navigation.
Right. Awesome. So what else have we got? It's an automatic.
Mm-hmm. And then he also has more switches down here for his front and rear air lockers, as well as his rock lights. So there's actually LEDs mounted all under the Jeep to where if he's wheeling at night, he can turn those on and he'll be able to see any rocks or debris that he's climbing.
So quickly, what are those lights over there, the green?
These ones, I believe this is his brake controller. In case he's towing a trailer, he has the ability to control the brakes of the trailer with it as well.
Is there anything else that is
He has his race radio all set up, so anytime we're at events, it's nice to be able to communicate with not only our team, but all of the drivers that might be in our groups that go out.
Right.
He has our grab handles, which are convenient. Say, you know, you or the occupants are driving and you're going over something, you have at least something to hold on to, as opposed to putting your fingers on the outside of the roll cage or anywhere that you should.
And these are made by Rebel.
Mm-hmm. So we make these very simple. They strap onto pretty much anything you want to put them onto.
Right. And there are a couple of speakers behind, which are from...
I believe it's JBL's kit, but I'm not
Okay.
100% positive. It's a good question to ask Taylor when we go talk to him in a bit.
Okay, no problem.
Yep.
And what's the spring over there for?
So that's, you mean the back? That's actually the fins from the rigid light bars on the blackout kits.
Right, okay.
But he also has grab handles in the back for his rear passengers, because we didn't have a spot to put the soft straps we talked about before. So
I think that covers almost everything. We've got seats. We've got
Corbeau.
Corbeau seats.
The nice part about these is that they have these external ribs on both sides, so that way when you're on the trail, it keeps you from sliding off of your seat.
It holds you in the seat. You don't move left or right.
Yeah, kind of most of the race seats will have this style, but they're also very comfortable, made out of suede, have reinforcement in the actual sitting portion of the seat as well as the rear backrest.
And you probably can get an option of the silly race seat belts.
Yes, you could.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. The rear seats are just covered with some seat covers.
Yeah, Trek armor, so that way it keeps any dirt and debris from getting into your seats.
All right, let's go then. Let's see what the seat feels like.
It's a lot of fun. So the nice thing with this too is with our coilover kit installed, there's obviously a lot more room to play because it's not such a stiff suspension, but we can go around a corner at high speeds and still totally in control. Now Taylor used to have a supercharger kit installed on his Jeep, but he actually pulled it off because he found that with his particular setup and the gearing that he had done, he had plenty of power on the Jeep. This Jeep is a lot of fun to drive.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So this is a petrol Jeep?
Yep, petrol version, and then he has an aftermarket air intake, as well as a Borla Cat back exhaust.
And that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It actually sounds like a rally car.
Yeah. Lots of fun. We'll go in the corner.
The seats help.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, this has plenty of power moving up, and we're moving 40-inch tires quickly.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's struggling.
Not at all. And we're going 70 miles an hour right now. And feel how smooth it is. No problems. Plenty of control. I mean, can't complain. You drive with one hand on the steering wheel, nothing to worry about.
And it's not swinging around or swaying around. It feels planted.
Yeah. That's one thing we do pride ourselves with in our coilover kit, is that it's excellent control on road and even better control off road.
So, did you say we were going to try going a little off
Yes,
road?
I'm going to try to take you to this place depending on whether or not the gate is open.
The brake's fine as well. I mean, it doesn't struggle to brake.
Not at all. The nice thing with the bigger axle assemblies is they come with the bigger brakes. So I'm barely using maybe 15% of the braking capacity it has right now. No problems.
And it just feels like a normal road car when you accelerate or when you brake. It doesn't feel that we're sitting so high up, or it doesn't feel like the the carriage is swaying forward or backward.
Yeah. And you have plenty of control at all speeds too, which is nice.
And the same setup on a manual would be so awesome.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have any manual Jeeps in India.
They are popular, but far and few between down here. The problem we have is the amount of traffic.
Yeah.
Most people don't want a manual transmission as you're going to be shifting constantly, stop and go, stop and go.
Okay, so we're going off-roading now.
To give you a little idea of how smooth and comfortable everything is.
And we're not going very slow either.
No. So, you know, everything's comfortable moving. So we're moving at about 30 kilometers an hour. Maybe up to 40. Yeah, we'll keep going down this way a little bit.
So this is like open for people to...
No, not so much. But figured it gives you just a little idea of what it's like. Alright. So that's pretty much the end of this. It's more or less a service road to access all these power lines. But I figured we'd show you up till about here. Yeah, I'll turn around and over this way. But I mean, this is in no means a smooth road, but you can feel how smooth the Jeep handles with our coilover kit. So do a little U-turn around here. I wish I had some big rocks and stuff to show you how well the Jeep articulates over everything, but not so much here. So next time you come out, we'll take a little, maybe day trip and go up to Big Bear or something and get you a little feel for the trail. Style that's out in India for driving this type of dirt road?
This is, I think this is way too baby stuff.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so this is, basically this is when people go to their farms or things in villages, which is like their weekend home.
Yeah.
This is probably what they might come across.
Yeah.
But when they do off-road trails, it's a level or two up more than this.
Yeah.
So I think the car that we're in, this looks very easy.
Yes. Oh, it's incredibly easy.
Yeah.
But at least it gets you off the road and you get a little bit of a feel.
Yeah. But I think the sway bar things is what you get to see how they work.
So it keeps the Jeep very stable. But it's comfy too, right? No crazy movements, nothing. It's handles almost like a stock Jeep.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. It handles exactly like a stock Jeep.
Which is what we aim for, as opposed to somebody. I mean, obviously you can build a Jeep with the craziest axles, the biggest tires that will handle the race. That's not what most of our customers want to focus on. They want the luxury of a Jeep, and they want to drive like a Jeep. They don't want to have to worry about having to drive it. So that's what we pride ourselves on. Our coilover kit, and obviously our partnership with TerraFlex. This is it. This is as comfortable as it gets driving a Jeep. So
if someone wants to upgrade that,
Oh yeah.
they can probably upgrade the transfer case and everything.
Yes. So if you're going to upgrade your transfer case, you want to use a company called Advanced Adapters, and they make the Atlas transfer case, which is about as close to bulletproof and bomb-proof as you can get.
But is it just the case that is stronger, or increase power as well?
Not so much increased power, but they'll change the gear ratios in the transfer case. So you can have it designed for whatever specifications you want. If you have a vehicle, I want this thing to crawl at, 6 kilometers an hour. I want it to barely move because I'm working on really technical trails. Okay, well they'll design it that way. Or they can say, hey, I do super high speed runs at 80 to 100 kilometers an hour through nasty trails. Sure, they'll gear it that way to where you shift into 4 high and you're comfortable. Nothing to worry about. So there's options for anything that people would want to do.
Alright, so this basically is set up to be used on the road and go mudding or something, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, this is Taylor's daily driver. He drives us to work every day. If he goes out camping on the weekends, he takes this. And he has it set up to where he can drive it every day with no problem. Or he can go tackle the Rubicon Trail tomorrow. Ready to go as is. He doesn't have to change anything. His shocks don't have to be changed. He doesn't have to change out his tires. He's just ready to go. And that was the goal behind his build, which I think he did.
The Rubicon Trail is one of the most popular trails.
Yes. So,
and it has a lot of rocks.
Yes, rocks, loose, silty dirt, trees to navigate through, narrow drop-offs, everything that's technical and can be very difficult unless you're looking at the Jeep that's ready to handle it. So the Jeep Rubicon got its name from the Rubicon Trail.
Right, okay.
So there's that, and then again, Johnson Valley with the King of the Hammers is big boulders, really loose granite dirt that you got to meander over and make work. So it's nice that we have options here. It's just unfortunate they're not very close. So smooth. If you drive over a speed bump at moderate pace, it's usually jarring and a little bit harder, but thankfully with ours, incredibly smooth.
It's actually a one better than the stock Jeep.
So we call it the Mercedes-Benz of Jeeps.
Right, okay.
When you have the the handling and how smooth it is through pretty much anything. What's nice too is even though we're being moderate on the throttle, if I wanted to step on it, it has plenty of power to get up and go at any time.
So all these people with the fancy Jeeps and trucks are all from
That's
Rebel?
pretty much us. We all like to have our fun. So you can see pulling up, we have Bond's Jeep here to the right, so that's our owner's Jeep, as well as his...
Oh, that's the one. We
Yeah.
saw it at the expo as well.
Yep.
I seriously want to see
Oh
that
yeah, so
thing
I'm going to
over
have
there.
Bond explain that to you, because that thing's incredible. And then we have our shop van that does most of our small deliveries or anything like that, as well as a couple other customer Jeeps, as well as our Willys that we're doing the restoration on.
I thought it was finished, haven't you?
Oh no, it is not finished, but we're almost there.
Alright, so we'll see Ryan in another Jeep now.
Sounds like a plan.
So what motor does this
Okay,
one
so
have?
this has a Chevy Corvette LS3 motor that's been swapped into it. And he also has every custom accessory you pretty much want on a Jeep then. I'm not sure who makes his axle assembly. fuel pump flash.
Whoa, that sounds awesome.
Well, I was gonna say you can rev it out for him. Oh, here. You might have to sit in it to start it. Awesome. How much horsepower the LS3 puts out?
Mine just out of the crate, 525.
Oh my.
Sorry, how much was that?
525 just out of the crate.
Wow.
Oh, chime in. This is Austin.
Hey, I'm sorry.
We have a lot of goodies here too.
Nice to meet you.
I say hi to everybody in India too.
How you doing, everybody?
Yeah, we need something like this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Let me just take this bit. Yeah. So we made it fit. It's not. This was completely installed by you guys. Not us, but we can outsource it to be done. We use a couple companies out of state.
So, would it be a bolt-on when it comes to India to us?
Yes.
Okay, so,
So
you
bolt on in a sense that we have the bracketries made and everything, but you'll have to do the wiring, plumb all the fuel lines and stuff
but
like that.
I'm sure you'd send us a manual
Yeah.
for it. Okay.
Plenty of technical support.
I like these doors.
Yeah, they're made.
It's
by-
not. It wouldn't work for India.
Yeah, but they're cool for.
But yeah, they're really cool.
It's pretty cool.
But as I said, did not drive.
Don't drive hard because he actually blew off his rear end. So we're reinstalling a new third member in the rear of his Jeep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, what do we have here?
So he has a full-on custom shock tower setup. So what a lot of people will do if they want to run a larger coilover than 14 inches, they'll actually have to bring the shock up through the bed. Our kit doesn't require cutting into the body. It keeps everything under the Jeep, so obviously if you have your air conditioning and everything stays in your vehicle as opposed to coming out through the holes. I don't know who makes this kit. It's actually, it might have been custom made.
And this is carbon fiber?
Yep, I believe this is MCE makes these fenders.
Yeah, we've got it over here.
Yep.
And what setup do we have? We've got a 40.
Yep, so
13 inch.
this actually had 42s on it before, and
Yeah.
then he dropped down to a 40-inch tire because he liked the Nitto style.
Right.
And then, yep, he's got his 17-inch raceline beadlocks, and then he runs a Yukon gear and axle hub assembly on his completely custom, I believe it's a Dana Super 80. And it has, I mean, you can even crawl under and look at the amount of truss work on that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So this is a complete custom built
Axle.
axle. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that is race truck ready.
So what does the guy use it for?
Just to play.
So rock crawling, mudding, what did he do?
For this guy, pretty much rock crawling, but he'll do rock crawling and then high speed runs through the desert too.
Okay, so I see all the big boys having
The anti-rock.
That-
It is
yeah,
the,
the setup.
the sway bar to run for everything because it works so well on road and off road. So
I like the smaller bumper. This is what I kind of like.
So that is what's called a stubby front bumper as opposed to the full width or any of the big ones. It's nice because it gives you so much room for if your tire's turning, you don't have any obstacles to hit. Keeps everything compact. Your winch is mounted out of the way. You can run lights on it. That's not
And the
such a
first
big
thing that hits the tire, the obstacle is the tire,
Yes.
and not the bumper. Okay. So what do we have here? This is
Yep, so this is another one of our builds. This one's nicknamed Gentleman Jack. So the couple that built it loved Gentleman Jack whiskey, so they wanted to kind of build it around that theme. So we had everything custom anodized or powder coated to that particular label color for the Jack Daniels Gentleman Jack bottle.
so what bumper is this?
This is a Poison Spider Brawler.
Oh, we like Poison
Yes,
Spider.
Poison Spider makes awesome stuff. Again, another Xeon 8 winch from Warren. Very popular because of their smaller footprint and because of the amount of power that winch gives out.
So I'm assuming that because I've seen Warren winches on majority of the Jeeps, I'm assuming that's one of the good ones to go for.
So they're pretty much the industry standard with ready-to-go winches.
And we've got two different kind of hoods. So one over here, it's got
Yep, the
a mesh,
ventilation in
yeah.
the top. Yep. So this is an AEV hood. American Expedition vehicles. And he has his Vision X lights mounted on the A-pillars, so it allows a lot of light footprint without taking up a bunch of room.
And what about that hood over there on the green one?
The green one, so he has his light bar up top, the 50-inch with the Poison Spider brackets that mount onto the A-pillar. So it keeps the light up and out of the way, as well as the side lights on the A-pillar.
No, the hood.
The hood? Yeah. This one's a Dodge Mopar Power Dome hood.
Right, okay.
So these are really popular. I believe they were available on a couple of the Rubicon years.
Right.
And then people just like the look of them, so they buy them and match them to themselves. So this one also has our coilover kit on it.
Right, yeah.
With the custom powder coated.
Right.
You know, the beadlock rings match the suspension, which matches the logos.
We've got Terraflex long arm kit.
Let's see, we like their kit. I mean, this one has it. This is one of our showroom Jeeps, also has it.
So we want to actually go around this one. I really like the way it looks. It looks huge.
Giant.
Probably because that's a 42 setup or a 40?
This is still 40s.
These are
so
40s.
40s on Dana 60 axles, very similar to Taylor's that we just rode in. He has a worn front bumper, and then he ran some high-powered HID lights up front. Oh, bear with me one sec. Yeah, I'm out front. You need help with something?
So basically the gray Jeep over here runs on 40s, and so does the red one over here. But that definitely looks a lot bigger. And it's just the way it is being built, with a snorkel, with stuff on top. So I think the way you build it with fenders and bumpers, it seems that you could make the Jeep look far bigger. So what I noticed was that even though both of them are on 40s, this looks bigger, probably because of the snorkel and the stuff on top.
So he has a Gobi rack set up top with a Thule storage container, so that allows you to put anything you want. This was designed, the gentleman's from South Africa, and actually lives in Morocco now, and he built it because he wanted a vehicle that he can explore the desert with and stay out for, you know, quite a while. So they call it an overland style setup. He also has the RIP supercharger installed. So
he's got a supercharger installed. Yep. Okay.
We can even go for a drive in this one too in a bit. And then he has his whole light set up so he can illuminate everything, whether it's his campground or any trails that he's on.
So are these the universal joints over here? Are these custom made?
Nope. So that is from, I believe this axle is a Rock Jock Dana 60 from Curry, and they use U-joints that are obviously a little more heavy duty than the stock ones. And you can run that setup if you're not using them that hard. Otherwise, if you want to bump up to a heavier duty setup, you can run what are called CV axles, so constant velocity axle from RCV. And they're made at 4130, huge setups, giant, 30 spline axle shafts.
So are the fenders on the black one the stock fenders?
Yes.
Okay. So basically what we were talking about was that you could put a 32 on a stock Jeep by just changing the fenders.
Yep.
Right? And it would look bigger as well.
Yeah, so what that does is it pulls the fender not only up higher, but also brings the fender back. So as opposed to the stock setup, where you see how the plastic protrudes this far out all the way down here, you wouldn't be able to clear tires and be hitting here. However, if you move up into an aftermarket one, it actually moves that back of the fender back a couple inches and allows that movement and articulation to happen.
To have the stock fender on this setup, you need to lift it a little bit further up.
Yep.
So that it doesn't touch anywhere. But if you don't want to lift it that much, then you can change the fender and get away with it.
Yep. And you can keep all your stock suspension and everything ready to rock.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This what it's good. See, what I'm surprised with is that all of them have got that added roll cage.
Yep.
Upgraded roll cage in. I mean, I see probably 4 out of 5 that are sitting here.
So we like them because it's just extra insurance for people that are out on the trail and are worried about rolling over, I mean, for something that's inexpensive and easy for somebody to install, it's perfect. And it looks good. It doesn't destroy your field of view with that front bar. You can still see over it just fine. And many times they'll color match it or accent it to look better on the Jeep too. So it has a two-fold approach.
So that's 38?
This is, I believe, 37.
37.
Yeah.
Okay, so could you please come so that I could have some perspective with the tires? So now, you know what I see is there's not much of a difference between the 37s and the 40s.
Yeah.
And the total height of the car is almost the same, right?
And these could both be lowered or raised more depending, because they're both running our coilover kit, so they can all be adjusted to the perfect height that somebody would want.
So now coming to that, since we've come to that topic, would set up the coilover because you have an adjuster.
Yep. So this right up here, you use what's called a spanner wrench, and you can actually insert it into one of the holes and turn it. And this entire shock body is threaded, so you can either, move it down to raise the vehicle or move it back up to lower the vehicle.
Right.
So the suspension travel and everything will stay the same, but it'll just increase the ride height.
Yeah. So that would also affect how soft or hard the ride is.
Depending. So you can adjust all of the height and such with that, but if you upgrade to a compression adjuster, which is a quick turn knob on the top, this one has so this way, say you raise your ride height as far as you can. Okay, well, it's going to increase your compression. You can actually take the compression and release some of that by turning this knob, and it'll adjust it to compensate for the raised height.
Right.
Or say you're off-roading and you need as much travel as you can get, so you don't want a lot of compression, you would turn it all the way back to where you have very little. That way you can maneuver and such, but when you get back on the road, you stop, get out, and you turn it back up to where you had it before, and it'll handle just as well on the street.
Right.
So a perfect option for anybody that wants to run the coilovers. We always recommend bumping up to your compression adjuster, so for the small fee of whatever is added to it.
Right. So I probably don't think we need to kind of go big tires to make the Jeep look big, but if you kind of put the height and put the setup right, I mean, with the snorkel, with stuff on top, it just looks huge.
So even though this looks giant, this is maybe a 4.5-inch lift.
Okay.
That's it. So when people talk lifts, they think, okay, I want my Jeep huge. You're thinking 8 inches. You don't need that height.
Yeah, I was thinking 6 inches.
Yeah, 6 is about as big as I would ever go.
Right.
A 6-inch lift, you'd be clearing 44s, no problem.
But then on a 38, you can get away with a 4-inch. Right, okay.
Or even 3.5 too, depending on how you want it to sit and ride.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have plenty of options. I would say 80% of the kits we sell are 4.5-inch kit. It's the perfect balance where people can adjust it to exactly the ride height they want. It's not too high, it can still fit in their parking bays, and nothing they have to worry about.
Right, okay, so what company snorkel is this?
So this is AEV, American Expedition Vehicles. So they make not only the snorkel, but they also make the hood. And what they have is, if you don't have the snorkel attachment, this cutout right here includes their mesh grill setup. But if you want to run their snorkel, you just remove that mesh portion and it builds the snorkel right into the side.
Okay, and the bar over here is to fit the thing on top.
Yep, for the whole roof rack. So it allows, instead of you having to drill into the roof of your Jeep to install it, you just mount it on these two lower racks, and it sandwiches in between them.
Right. So there's no cutting or welding to fix this.
And you can see it all rests up against here, bolts down here, so it gives you some room to mount
Is this Jeep open? Can we see inside?
I don't know if it's open. Oh, it is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see they have the Crow set up. I believe those are...
you got your Crow...
I think those are actually Sparco seats.
Okay. It's just the Crow seat bolts.
Yep, they call them the 5-point harnesses.
Right.
And then he has his... I wish I could get on the other side of this so you can hear me. He has his rock hard 4x4 interior cage. He has his gauges for his supercharger on the left-hand side.
So what are those, autometer? Or?
Yep, autometer gauges for boost and air and fuel ratios. You can see he has his switches also mounted down below in the center console, his race radio. So he is ready to go pretty much anywhere.
Alright. Yeah, let me just take a look at the back.
If you open the back, you can see he mounted 2 propane tanks on the side, so he can use his fuel anytime he's out there for cooking or camping.
Okay, let's just take a quick look.
Open that one.
Okay, so the roll cage over here basically gives the rear passenger something to hold on to.
Yep, and mounts these front harnesses.
Right.
Yep, so you can also see we have them on the back seats too. So they call this a harness bar.
Right, okay. So keeps people in place. And so you've got two propane tanks, you said?
So that way if he's out, you know, cooking or needs any for his lanterns or anything like that, he has an abundant supply of propane. You could see also his air compressor right below the propane tank right there.
Right, okay.
So that way he can...
So I saw a lot of CO2 tanks at the expo, which were mounted at the back.
Popular because it'll inflate a tire faster than if they just have an air pump. So those CO2 tanks are filled up kind of like a scuba tank, so it's small area but a lot of pressure.
That's kind of cute.
You know, that in California you have to have a marker light if the vehicle width is farther than stock.
Right.
So most of the aftermarket companies will drill a hole for you and put a marker light in that way. Keeps law enforcement happy.
Alright, okay. So what are we looking at next?
Let's see if we can get Bond and try to get you to do a walk around on Zilla.
Alright, well let's look at what we have here. The white Rebel Jeep.
Oh yeah, so this is Chris, he's one of our sales reps.
Oh, we need to go to the orange one as well.
Yes. So Chris on his, like I was talking about on Taylor's when we had the big wraparound tire carrier, Chris is running a 30, what is this, 8? Yeah, so he has a 38-inch tire, but he's able to run it on this aftermarket TerraFlex hinge carrier.
Right, so that's the video Dennis made for the hinge carrier.
Yep. And then he has corner guards with Genright's own taillights. He has Genright bumpers, Genright fenders, Genright rocker guards. And they've designed theirs in a two-fold setup. So they have an outer shield and the actual inner rocker panel itself. So giving you double protection if you're really running over the rocks. It'll keep it from getting dented or damaged. He also has KC lights up top with our roof rack. It's called the Halo rack. And then he ran the Pro 6 light bars. So those are actually LEDs, even though they look like your standard iridescent bulb
That's
style.
something I like.
Yeah, those are cool. And then up here we have the Flex series on the A-pillar and on his front bumper. So we did that setup, and then also a Cyclone LED is what KC makes. You can use them for anything. Small footprint, from rock lights to interior lights. He actually uses them for his turn signals.
Okay.
Yep. And then the KC headlight replacements.
So those are too many of them, but yeah.
He likes the light, so it works out well. And then when I was talking about the U joints as opposed to the CV, Chris actually has the CV joints installed, which are probably 3 or 4 times as strong as a U joint. So since Chris actually uses his Jeep all the time on the trail, he wanted to design it to be as bulletproof as possible. And it seems to have worked out well. He has not broken one since.
Oh, they got KC headlights as well. Okay.
And then a Warren winch. However, his he actually snapped his line when he was out there. It rubbed on a rock. Obviously not immediately on it, but how we had it winched up, it was wrong. We've since learned from it. But since his line had snapped, he actually has to replace his before he can obviously continue winching. So that's why that's been missing.
So let's go to the orange one
Over here. Yep, so this is what we call the Rebel Command Vehicle.
Okay.
And then outside of Jeeps, we also do trucks. This one is actually a huge diesel Chevy Duramax we did a long travel kit on. So the front bumper is being finished up. They just finished installing the wider flares. So it is a beast of a truck, to say the least. And over here is our owner Bon Gilmer's personal vehicle. This is the Jeep that we take on every event, and when we lead trails up to the Rubicon or anything, this is the Jeep that runs it. So he has a Magnuson supercharger installed, as well as an AEV, or this is a, I wonder if this is an AEV hood.
This is fiberglass, right?
Yes. he has the Magnuson supercharger installed on his. The superchargers are only available on the petrol models.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the market here in the United States, we're not allowed to have the diesels. The EPA is not willing to allow them into the country yet. We're hoping we get them soon. So we just have to justify strapping superchargers to get even more power.
So we probably will be having petrol Jeeps next year in India. So superchargers would be the thing to get. So right, what setup do we have on this?
So this
those are the Maxxis tires, the ones that I like.
Yeah, these are the Trepidors. They're really sticky tires, so it allows you to run over pretty much any rocks. For street-driven tires, we wouldn't recommend them because they'll wear down really fast. I mean, you can see how spongy the rubber is on them.
Right.
They're super grippy. So for rocks or any, soft mud, no problem. When you get into the more compact dirt and street use, they'll wear out quickly. He has custom front and rear axles on his. I believe he has a Dana 60 up front, and then what we call a Rock Jock Dana 70 out back. And this kit was actually designed by us. It uses a bigger setup than the TerraFlex long arms.
Plus, he's removed the guard from here, it seems.
Yes.
So it's all open, you can see things inside.
Yep, so Poison Spider makes an aluminum inner fenders that we trim to match our coilover tower.
Right.
And we're just waiting for them to come in for this one, which is why they're not installed. And then out back, we have our custom 4-link setup that we normally recommend for people that are looking to do the most extreme off-road. So this actually gets rid of the front 2 mounts and does the upper mounts on the back and mounts everything down below on this custom axle truss. So it is a wild setup for really getting out there and going over some nasty stuff.
So you've got Rigid Industries light over here.
We do like Rigid Industries. We love their customer service and their warranty. So
I like the tail lights.
So this is the actual outer guard is made by Genrite, and then we put in our own truck light LED.
And those are Poison Spider fenders. Right. Okay.
Poison Spider and a Poison Spider rear bumper. And then this is a custom Rotopax holder, so that you can run. If you want, you can run fuel, water, diesel, kerosene, oil fuel mix if you run your dirt bikes or anything like that off premix. So everything can be held back here in a convenient location and keeps all your gas from being inside. So that's why I went with this run. He has his Low Ranch GPS, a quick release.
Yeah, I actually like the whole GPS thing.
Yeah.
So in this one, I think Ryan explained it to me that it basically you could take it to a new trail, or to some new place, create your own trail, and other people having the same one could see the trail that you have done.
You can upload your trail map online. That particular model won't do it, but the new Lowrance models will. So we love Lowrance for their products are waterproof, which is excellent in case you're in the rain or something and for whatever reason you don't have your top on. It can protect that, or in case it gets splashed, they're very, very durable.
So the GPS that is on your car, or the GPS that you could buy, does the roads, but they don't do off-road bits. They don't have open ground. So this thing works off-road or anywhere. So and I think it works on a satellite, so you can take it to a new place and it would still create the trails and everything. So that's pretty cool. We've got some switches down here.
Yep, so that's for most of his lights, as well as his air lockers and interior lights. And then he has, let's see, his race radio mounted conveniently up on the center mount of the dash. And then we have our spider web shade that we had custom made with our Rebel skull and logo.
So I really like this thing. So it's still, the wind does come in, it's still open, and it still protects you from the sun.
Yep, so it blocks, I believe, 90% of UV rays, so it saves you from getting a sunburn.
And it's not expensive.
Not at all. I think they're less than $100. So it's perfect, and super easy to install. So a lot of Jeep people out here like to remove their hardtops, especially in the late fall where it's still kind of warm, but they want to eliminate kind of sunburn or anything like that. It's a perfectly easy option to when you remove the hardtop, throw that up and you are ready to go.
So are these crow seats as well?
So crow harnesses, and I believe these are beard seats. So you got to see your Sparco seats as well as your Corbeau seats like in Taylor's, and then I believe these are beard seats.
But these are probably the best seats which would keep you in place. I mean, they've got...
So they have the side supports and everything, so especially if you're articulating through the trail, it keeps your body in the Jeep.
Right. Okay, so I think we have seen majority of the Jeeps. Man, I love those tires.
Yeah.
So we've seen majority of the Jeeps. We will go back to that one at some point.
Yep.
So there's the customer who just rolled in with this Jeep.
Yep.
What all does he have on it?
So he has the Smittybilt XRC fenders as well as the Smittybilt rock sliders. So as opposed to the other ones that are smooth, they're actually a tube style rock slider. It's the same general principle. It allows you to slide over the rocks and everything. And he has his Raceline wheels that are full beadlocks, and he actually color matched the wheel to his gray on his Jeep, which is an excellent combo, pops well. Now he's running the King monotube shock as opposed to doing our coilover kit.
Right.
That uses the existing springs, well obviously elongated to compensate for the height, as well as the King shock with the compression adjuster. So different style, a better setup for a heavier Jeep. So if somebody wants to put, you know, their rack up on top of the tent or anything that's a little bit, you know, bigger and beefier, we'll recommend a you know, stock style coil and shock combo as opposed to our
they've
coil.
got a quick release sway bar.
So that way, since he's running a stock sway bar, it's limited on the trail, handles well on road but not off road. So he has this pin at the bottom that can be removed and actually tuck his sway bar up here. So that way it moves the sway bar up and completely out of the way and allows him to have full articulation with no sway bar. Great for really technical trails, not well for on the street. And then he's running, I believe, a Rubicon Express 2.5-inch short arm kit. So a lot of the TerraFlex kits will actually remove that stock bracket and move it back to allow a longer arm to be installed.
You have to weld
the bracket on.
So the bumper?
Yep, that's Smittybilt as well. This has what's called a higher stinger. So what this does is, say you're coming off a rock and you know the whole Jeep's pitching forward. What this does is, in case your Jeep rolls forward, it stops your Jeep from doing
toppling over.
Yeah. So you hit it and then you just slide on that back down.
Right.
So convenient for, again, really technical trails that you have to worry about rolling your Jeep. And then up top he has a hood mounted high lift jack. We can go over the high lifts more in detail.
But this must be like a 4-inch, 4.5 inch?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'd say he's about 4 inches.
Okay, and it's got a 40 setup?
Yep, I believe. Yes. He's running the 40s, and it's a 13.5-inch wide tire, so big footprint on it.
Right.
And then,
So, you know, the 38s that we saw was 13.5 wide.
Yep.
But you get 38s with 14 width.
Yep.
And those are really cool because you get, like, those are my favorites.
you know, bigger footprint, and it's not so tall of a tire.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it literally looks like a spider,
Yep.
like going wide.
And that's nice too, especially through mud, because it allows a bigger footprint of the tire to be contacting the ground and move more mud to chug you through whatever muck you're in. So these tires are nice for trails because they get into smaller crevices or anything like that that you'd need to get into, but if you're in the mud, you'll want a wider tire. So Toyo is who makes, and you'll notice that most of our Jeeps run Toyo. This is the open country mud terrain tire. Excellent on the street, excellent off-road. So it's perfect balance for most of our customers. And then he has his Smittybilt roof rack up on top that he has his surfboard on. So that way you can throw anything up there, whether it's camping equipment, yada, yada, yada. And then he's actually running a Curry Dana 40 or a Rock Jock 40.
So the fenders, sorry, just the fenders are such that your fuel cap goes in here. So there's no door over here that you'd have to. It's a bit tricky to put.
Yeah, it's a little. It still works well, but it's not as easy as the typical door setup. But he's also running one of the GenRide tire carriers because he's running a 40-inch tire. So it's usually the one we recommend. And then GenRide includes the light so that when you're running your registration plate on it, it illuminates it so enforcement can see it from behind.
Alright.
Very nice setup. He has his LED trail lights out back so he can see when he's backing up through his rearview mirrors. He's not going to hit anything. It's a good setup.
Okay. So it's lightweight, so you could like pull it out.
Yep, to maneuver it. However, I do not have it locked, and the tire does not. Okay.
Now, this looks really awesome when it is pulled by a Jeep.
Yes.
The shape and everything is like really cool. I mean, especially behind the Jeep, this looks pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
This, you know, we have a similar looking gas tank on a motorcycle. It's called the teardrop gas tank.
Yep.
This is the teardrop carriage, like a trailer.
Yeah. You can see inside. We have the ladder in it right now because we used this display at the Off-Road Expo.
So
But see plenty inside.
So the ladder is so that you could put up a tent on top of the trailer. So you have a tent on top of the trailer where two people can sleep in the tent up on the so two people can sleep in the tent on top of the trailer, and then two people probably can sleep inside over here. And they've got small desks with cup holders, maybe.
Little nooks.
Yeah, you could put some bits and bobs in here. You got a music system. You got a light. You got fancy lights behind for reading. And the cool thing, I mean, I know this trailer a bit because I saw it at the expo. Now this over here is a fridge, and over here is a stove which you can pull out. Yeah, so there's a propane gas tank over here, and pulls out.
Yep, I'm just ready to go.
Alright, so you could probably cook something. You could chop your things up here, and then cook it over here.
Yep, as well as all your cooking utensils and everything's nice and compactly stored.
So they've got speakers up here as well. So you could throw a party with this.
Yes, you could.
That's your quick lift jack. Okay, so what is this trailer like on a, you know, basic off-road? I mean, if you're going not off-roading, but to a trail on the approach road and everything, the road that we took.
Yeah,
right?
Handles just fine. I mean, this thing has a leaf-sprung suspension, so it, you know, with the oversized, it actually has, I believe, 35-inch tires on it. Yeah, so with the 35-inch tires, you have a ton of ground clearance, so you're not going to get hung up on anything. And it's light enough to where it can be pulled by just about any vehicle. So even fully loaded, you don't have to
we just saw Ryan pull this trailer out, so it's not heavy at all.
everything.
And what have you got in the front? So what is this storage over here?
Yeah, so what this does is, say you want to bring a generator so you have your portable power.
Right.
You would. Just remove, unlock this, and you can put any of your bigger gear items up front. And then in the forward storage locker, you have the battery setup. So you have an auxiliary battery at night, as well as an inverter to where you can plug it into your generator and it'll run all the power off, including the fridge that's back there. And then,
So this charges on the car?
yep, even on the way out too.
Right. So probably if it charges, if you're driving somewhere all day long, it charges, and then at night when we're actually using it to sleep in it or whatever, the batteries are charged, so it'll keep going. It'll keep going all night long.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
they're convenient. Small package too. It's not very big.
So this trailer is actually you have someone who gives it out on rent.
Yes.
Over here in America.
So the company is called Off the Grid Rentals, and you're allowed to rent them per day. And you show up to Rebel Offroad, and we help you hook it up, sign all your paperwork, and go. So everything's handled online. It's easy. Nobody has to stress about picking up a trailer. So we like repping this company.
Got small windows as well.
Yeah. With the mesh too, so they can be opened up and you actually get a breeze inside. Or it can be closed if it is chilly out. So we do multiple options. And then
So
this,
what do we have here? What's this for?
so this is for water hookup. So what you do is you can hook up an actual shower to it. There's 30 gallons of water tank on it to where you can either use it for cooking, cleaning, washing, anything you'd want.
All right. Okay.
And then the fridge itself is actually powered by the trailer, so it's not just a cooler. As long as you have power, it'll keep it cold. If you run out of power, it'll keep it cold again for about a day or two.
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
nice, yeah, nice
Now
to
you
have.
can control the temperature and
Yes,
everything.
everything's controlled. And it also has a control inside your vehicle that's a little Bluetooth capable device that hooks up to your phone, and you can monitor how cold the refrigerator is at all times. So that way you make sure, hey, it has power, I know everything's going to be cold when I open it. And it's very convenient setup.
So it does have brakes on the trailer.
Yes, trailer
it has
brakes.
lights.
Anything and everything you can need, your turn signals. So it's just ready to go right out of the box. And also has a trailer hitch receiver in case you want to bring bikes on a bike rack. Or if you have a smaller container you can keep down here to put any more gear or anything else you want.
Also, it's probably best to carry like motocross bikes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not the heavier ones,
Yeah.
obviously.
It works well. We like it.
All right, let's put it back then.
Yeah.
So we'll just see Ryan put it back. I'm gonna be a lazy bum and just stand here, and we'll see him do all the work. And he doesn't seem to struggle.
Not at all. Right back there, and it's as easy as that.
So we're in the Rebel Offroad workshop, right behind the showroom. So these are all the customer Jeeps being done up.
Let's see, what's exciting? I think this one's getting a supercharger installed. Yeah, so this one just had a rip installed. Up here. So full-blown grip supercharger assembly. A little smaller than Magnuson and the other couple ones, but really nice.
So do you have to remove the cover to fit the supercharger?
Yep.
That's still they have to do that, right?
Yeah. And then, depending on how, because all this plumbing is brand new too. So all of this gets moved around, and then it has the front intercooler set up right behind the grill, and then looped. So it looks like a turbo, but it's actually a supercharger.
So basically, turbo is a supercharger. It's the full name of a turbo is a turbo supercharger.
Yep. So a turbo works by
exhaust gases.
Yeah, it uses exhaust gases to turn a centrifuge to pull air in from another side. A supercharger uses the belt of the engine as its own power source and pulls air through that one.
Right. So it sucks in more air. So basically, in comparison with the naturally aspirated, which takes into consideration the air pressure and just sucks in normal pressure air. A supercharger basically compresses it and sucks in more air, and that works like a vacuum cleaner.
All it does is it vacuums, and then it goes through the intercooler that actually cools and condenses the air further into the motor.
Right. So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, a supercharger is basically give you the power from the very beginning rather than
Yes.
having a lag.
Yeah, so there's the turbo lag happens because all that air has to move through the intake, through combusting the motor out before it can start to be compressed, as opposed to a supercharger that as soon as your intake is, you know, expanded out, it's already pulling more air because that serpentine belt is moving quicker.
So that's probably why they use a lot more superchargers on the drift vehicles.
Yes.
Because as soon as they pump the accelerator, they have the power.
Yes, as opposed to the lag of having to wait for that turbo to spool out.
Right, okay, so what else have we got?
Here's another Jeep with our coilover kit and Terraplex long arms. I don't know what he is in for, but he has, again, the anti-rock kit. You can see what it looks like when it's fully drooped out. So it's amazing how much room and articulation everything goes through.
And this is a different kind of sway bar link, right? It's not the stock one.
No, so this is the Heim joints. These are the only things that Curry will work with. So they like to run these because they're a heavier duty joint and it allows you to adjust it.
So adjust the length of it according to
So it's perfect for your configuration.
And again, this has got the Rebel coilover kit.
Yep, then we run the extended TerraFlex brake lines because with our coilover kit you get much more articulation than stock, so you need to extend the brake lines. The ABS harness will work. It is long enough from the factory. They normally have it tucked away. In very rare instances we'll have to extend it, but not something that most people have to worry about. He has his Nemesis front fenders that he's had custom painted, the red of his Jeep, and then
Yeah,
did
so
a pinstripe in the
I
black.
really like these
Nemesis
fenders.
are our personal favorite. So we run, this is what's called the Odyssey fender that's a little wider than the back, but it has a much nicer contour coming off of the grill. And
So these are made in America, or
yep, everything's made in America pretty much that we run.
as compared to the other one?
Smitty built, yeah. Smitty built's made in China.
Right.
And then he's running a Poison Spider front stubby bumper. So again, smaller footprint, so you can, the obstacle will hit the tire before the bumper. Running a Rigid Industries light on top of his winch fair lead. And I'm not sure.
It's running a supercharger as well?
Nope, this is just an upgraded transmission cooler.
Right, okay.
So he's also running what's called a Warren power plant. So this is both a winch and an air compressor. So he can run an airline off of it and pump up his tires if he needs to, instead of having a winch and a compressor. So convenient in a small package. Rigid Industry lights in the foghorn locations.
This is a TerraFlex
Long arm, yes.
long arm kit, okay. And it's a Dana 60,
No, this is actually a Dana 30 up front. So it's what comes.
It's the stock one.
Stock one, yes. And he has his reinforced. So he has these reinforcement plates welded on, and inside the axle or tube itself, it's been sleeved. So you have your standard tube width that's narrow, and we'll actually take a machine sleeve and slide it in, and then weld it on the outside to keep it from sliding out, and it reinforces the axle. So another option for people that don't want to bump up to a brand new axle housing and stuff. And he also runs the Rigid Industry lights, running the Poison Spider mounts that he's had color matched as opposed to the black powder coat that's stock. And then he's also running an AEV hood, much like the other red one we saw that had the snorkel. So while the red one had the snorkel that went into here, this one has the existing brake.
Right.
So that could be removed if you wanted to add the snorkel on later. And then he's running, again, the Toyo Open Country MTs and method wheels. It looks like he's actually used. So, simple, very clean build, but very capable.
And this is the drop down.
Yep. I don't know. I won't be able to open the door.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. But it came out really nice. And then so on the back, like we talked about the GenRight tire carrier that mounts on the body. This one's the Poison Spider rear bumper with the swing out tire carrier. So what this does is allows you to use the stock door where it's attached and actually mounts on a swivel of a Heim joint. So instead of having the whole carrier that has to be moved and this,
he can just swing it out with his existing tailgate. And another cool little product that we sell quite a bit of is this Trailgater. So it's a bolt-on table that allows you to longevity of your winch will actually increase through them.
See, when you see marks like this, you know that they actually have been taking it.
So they've been taking it, grinding on the rocks and doing such. And that's actually what this ring is here for. So they call it a bead-lock ring that not only holds the tire on, but also protects the inner part of the rim from getting damaged from the rock. So while both of these rims have small rings, if you take a look at other trail rigs, this ring will actually be about this big.
Right.
It'll be huge. It'll take up most of the wheel and this whole area, and protects anything from jabbing into the rim and allows it to slide through everything.
Oh, so I saw the hood on your website.
Yep, so it's they call them a hood loser, but it's pretty much a plate that you bolt on, and then underneath your chain, they give you a footprint to cut out the welds, and that allows heat to escape from the top.
Right.
So a different setup for anybody that might want it. Tap it, Rich. Are you ready?
Almost. I got to try this one again.
Okay.
All right.
The good news is he's here for days, right? But we'll take care of you today.
I'm here in LA till.
Hey, did you introduce him to John over there? So Maxis engineers are here.
Right.
I have not.
What's that?
I have not. Let's go.
Okay, so I'll introduce you to them because we do a lot
Okay,
with
first
different
let's
makes.
introduce you to people back home.
Yeah.
So this is Von. He owns Rebel Offroad. So he's been kind enough to have me here and is showing me the workshop. So we're meeting the Maxis engineers?
Yep, so I'm going to introduce you guys to some of the Maxis guys. They bring out engineers a couple of times a year to show them around and really so that they can then understand how the tires get used. But also some of the times we'll take the Maxis engineers off-roading with us so they can then understand how it's going to, what it's
Right.
being used on.
Okay.
Because they're told to design the tire over in Taiwan. They're designing the tire for use out here. So I want to bring them out here, get them used to using it and see what it's going to actually do and what it's not going to do, and then go back and make design changes. One of them speaks English, the rest of them don't.
All right,
but,
fair
you-
enough.
You can say hi.
So we're in the orange Jeep. Who does this belong to?
Yep, so this is Bon Gilmer's personal vehicle. We call it the Rebel Command vehicle.
Okay, sorry, before we go ahead, let me get those shades.
Oh yeah, are these cool?
Those are awesome. They're growing on me.
I know they're the Rebel Offroad shades.
Right. Okay. So we did walk around on this around this orange Jeep. We're just going for a quick spin. It's got the 5-point harness. I can't really move much because I'm wearing them as well. But I mean, for off-roading, I think this kind of a setup works, like the harness thing. 5
Yeah, so especially because this thing is designed for about anything you can push it through. So say we're on the trail. I mean, we're going up the stuff that most people try to avoid. This thing's meant for it. So the 5 points allow you to use your body more or less in the seat without worrying about falling out in case we tip over. So
Right.
it gives you movement, but not enough to get you in trouble.
but you can still reach everything.
And what do we have here?
So this is the boost gauge for the Magnuson supercharger, as well as the air-fuel ratio. So it just allows you to keep an eye on it. If anything were to ever happen, you can notice whether the vacuum or pressure is exceeding the normal range, as well as if your wideband air and fuel ratio starts going way off, you can keep an eye on it rather than anything bad happening to the motor.
And how is this Jeep different from the one we...
So Taylor's was the new motor, which is a 3.6 liter V6. This is the original 3.8 liter V6 that they had on Jeeps from about 08 to 2011. So this is actually a 2007 JK that was originally a two-door that we converted into a four-door.
Oh, you can do that?
No, sorry, not two-door. A two-wheel drive that we converted to a four-wheel.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So it has been all ready and good to go. But it is a lot of fun because it's got a little bit more movement than the one we previously had.
I like the open setup of this
Yeah.
Jeep. It also makes the car a much lighter.
Yes.
So, plus it has a supercharger.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's got a lot more give. The sway bars on this are set up to be very loose. So this is not your typical on-road Jeep. It will still handle fine, but this is purpose-built off-road machine for sure. And it's really sticky on the street because of the compound of the tire.
I could feel it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no sliding on this. You're going one way and one way only. Not the best for like really heavy dirt because the compound of the tire is so soft. Great for on the rocks or anything such as that.
Like, even in the passenger seat, I could feel it actually sticking to the road.
Yeah.
Wow!
So a much lighter Jeep. I mean, we're going, that was up to 65 in a hurry. So it's still, even though this is purpose-built off-road, it still handles so nice for being on the street. You know, similar to Taylor's, one hand, I don't have to worry about anything moving all over the place.
It feels, the suspension feels softer.
Much softer. So the spring rates and everything that are set up, again, is for a lot of articulation. So
Right.
this isn't a Jeep that we want to stay stiff. This is one that we want to, you know, move and turn and deal with everything a little less stiff than if you wanted purposely built for the street. So I take you past the dirt road, but it's already past 3, so they actually close it. Yeah, I mean, you can see how much it sways. We're still all 4 tires on the ground, but
Yeah.
and it's the 5 points work great because it keeps you in your seat. You don't have to really worry about it too much.
It's not that bad though.
No,
it does
and this-
sway a little bit more.
Yeah, but and that's like when people think, oh, there's a huge difference between. Well, yes, there is, but at the same time, any setup you do isn't going to be terrible. It's not like you're going to build a Jeep and okay, it's off-road specific. All right, well, it's not going to handle terrible on-road, but we can obviously do a setup that would be better on-road as opposed to something like this purpose-built to go off-road. So it's nice. The options are there. You know, you do find people that want just an off-road toy. Make it happen. But the superchargers are fun too. Wow. Yeah. We like it. And I mean, it's.
I thought it would be like all over the place. It's not scary.
No.
Even though the suspension is softer, it's not that scary.
Yeah, so the big thing that's crucial anytime you're lifting the Jeeps is to make sure your alignment is set. Because if you have anything off on the alignment, you'll get what's called death wobble, which feels like once you get over, I don't know, 100 kilometers an hour or something, you'll get this kind of shimmy that won't go away.
Right.
So it's whether or not your tire's imbalanced or your toe is off a little or your caster's off, you'll notice. So that's our big push is you have to get it aligned correctly, because if it's not, then the Jeep's not going to handle the way it should.
It feels like we've got like a steering attached to the rear wheels as well.
Yeah.
Because it grips so much.
Yeah. There's no sliding at all. But even though this is, I mean, between the tire compound and the suspension, I mean, it is bred to be completely off-road driven, but it still handles great on the street.
The open thing is perfect for this weather.
Oh, 100%. So this would be like winter in India?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to take this off, it's really easy. Just give it a twist counterclockwise.
Alright, cool. We'll go try the next Jeep now.
Yep.
Alright, so we don't have the Rebel thing over here, but
yeah, this is the 2012 was the year that they rechanged the interior, so they made it a little more luxurious than the basic package they had before. So hence why, you know, your differentials. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You know, the differential, the standard shifter, everything's been upgraded along with the center console, the steering wheel, and everything's nice. So this one has the RIP supercharger on it, and unfortunately we've had some fun with it where the idler bearing is what's making that noise. So nothing's broken, it just needs to be replaced because it's worn out. Similar to that previous Jeep, we have our boost gauge and our wideband air-fuel ratio, so we can keep an eye on everything when we're driving. So take it for a little spin.
Alright, so we've got a Alpine rear camera screen as well.
Yeah.
So, is this placed here or is it mounted? How is it?
It is mounted.
Okay.
They have like a special holder for the screen. Now this Jeep is heavy. It is, let's see, I forgot what our curb weight total is, but we have the rack up top, all the steering. We have, I think, 30 additional gallons of fuel that can be held on this, an external fuel tank. So it's a little bit bigger than everything else, but yet it still handles.
It feels more planted because it's heavy.
So
and you don't feel that much loss of power.
Yeah, and that's where the RIP shines. And you'll find too, even with the diesel models, when they're this packed down, they still have so much torque that the power loss, and especially if you re-gear it too, won't be as bad.
Let's close the window actually.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Alright, so now your voice would be recorded.
Oh, that makes more sense. So we'll do a little stab of throttle. So still plenty of power, which is nice. Gets you through anything. The nice thing with the RIP too is that there's no turbo lag. I know we discussed it a little bit more, but you have power almost instantaneously. So it's nice, especially if you're off-road, find an obstacle that's a little bit more work to get over. You have that little bit of extra power to help you move up and over it, as opposed to the stock Jeep where it might require a little bit more power, or even a little bit of what we call a roll-in to clear an obstacle.
So, in terms of the suspension and the lift kit, how much difference is it from the first two that we drove?
So, the suspension on this is probably closest to that first silver one, the Ironman JK that we drove. It does have our coilover kit front and rear, and Dana 60 axles front and rear as well. So they're pretty similar in that regard. However, this one is easily probably 2,500 pounds heavier than Taylor's.
Right.
Just with the amount of gear in it, from the rear harnesses, even the seats themselves are heavier, the top cage, the additional fuel tank, everything adds up. But it still handles just as well as the previous.
And you don't feel the loss of power because of the added weight, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
So the orange one that we drove, you had the quick release sway bars?
That one had both front and rear anti-rock sway bars. but that one was set up to be completely rock crawling. So the spring rates on the shocks themselves are way more loose and not as tight as, say, on this one. So how King builds their coilovers is different rate springs, whether it's a 400-pound spring or a 600-pound spring, which is the weightage required to compress the spring at full compression. So by stacking different ones on, you can adjust the spring rates to help your ride be fine-tuned.
Right.
So when they say shock tuning, it's not only changing the compression and valving inside the shock, but also changing the springs on the outside. So each one of those shocks can be hand assembled and configured in a way that would be perfect for your Jeep. And say, you know, you buy a Jeep with a regular coilover kit that doesn't have any extra weight, well, the coilover's built one way. And then say you add all that extra weight, what's nice is, you know, the shop could easily go and fine tune the shock for you without you having to purchase a whole other shock. Which is part of the benefit of running a coilover.
So the gear ratios on all the 3 Jeeps that we drove are different, or
Yes.
are they the same?
So-
Because all of them are 40 setup, like 40 tire.
Yep, so Taylor's, the first one we had the lowest gear range, even though numerically it's the highest. It's actually reverse of what it sounds like. That one had 538s, which is about as low as you can go for a Jeep comfortably.
Right.
Most manufacturers won't make a lower gear than that. This one has 513s, which is the next step down from that, which works well. Taylor's will have a little bit more get up and go with the gearing, but the RIP supercharger added is what makes this one feel like it has so much more power.
Right.
And then Bond's, I believe he has 538s as well on his, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So I guess there's the two difference. When you have around a 37, you can do 508s or even 488s are about the two that we recommend. But it all depends on how you're going to be driving it.
This Jeep probably feels more powerful, probably because of the supercharger and because it's a newer engine.
Yeah, and the gearing too. So all three of those added together make it have that much power. So
Right.
like with the diesel one that you're working on, as soon as you do the ring and pinion gear swap on it, you'll notice night and day difference. All of a sudden, all that power that was lost from bumping up to a bigger tire will all of a sudden be right back. And you'll notice a huge improvement to it.
Okay.
So it'll be nice.
Yeah, I don't think that the diesel ones are less powerful. The diesel ones are probably equally powerful as the petrol ones, but we don't have the freedom of putting a supercharger on it.
Yeah.
Right? But, well, saying that, we are going to get petrol ones, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't be an issue.
And with the diesels, thankfully, you don't need that much to them. Adding an intake and then freeing up the exhaust will increase the power considerably. Then adding a tuner to it to free up the, you know, the extra power that's withheld, usually from the factory. I mean, they do offer as much power as they're comfortable giving the majority of people. But as soon as there's slight tweaks done in the ECU and then with the intake and exhaust added, it's a night and day difference. I can be surprised.
Frankly, out of all the 3 Jeeps, this seems the most comfortable,
Big time.
and more controlled. But probably because of the added weight, it sticks.
Yes.
And
Yeah. This one is fine-tuned for it. And this does have the stock front sway bar, which is what makes it feel so stiff up front.
Right.
And then has the anti-rock rear stay bar to keep the rear end from sagging too much.
right.
So you see the difference between, you know, the completely off-road setup where we had all of that sway and all that articulation, as opposed to this, that even though this would handle a great off-road, was more set up for long endurance driving.
So in this car, you'd have to probably disconnect the sway bars in the front,
Yes.
but not in the rear, and then you're good to go off-roading.
Yes.
But you don't have to do any suspension adjustments like the compression or anything on this one if you're going off-roading.
Yeah. So you are set.
Okay.
I need to get an idea of the next big project we're working on.
It looks like you know, you're going to take this to Dakar, but I was talking to Bon, and he says he's going to take the kids to school in that.
Yep, that's it. That will be Bon's daily. We get to see that every day.
So what just happened with this Jeep?
He had too much fun. As far as we know, he was coming down a hill and then gave it a little too much gas, hit a rock, and it hit the back end of the Jeep, spun it, did a front flip, and then landed on its wheels again. But it ripped out all the mounts of the front axle, tweaked the frame, body's a little off.
Take take a peek from this side. Oh shit!
Yeah. But what's nice for him is all the repairs will be covered under insurance, so nothing he has to worry about. And
So your normal insurance covers the off-road accidents as well?
Not normally. Most of the time we have to tell them that it's not off-road.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I think he is just going to be replacing his axles, and this is now going to be a toy rather than his daily driving car. So it still starts, still runs fine, just doesn't go anywhere.
Right, okay. Shit.
It's a mess. Lots of fun.
I'm sure he enjoyed the somersault. He felt like a roller coaster.
Oh, but of course.